So we're excited for the future of teaching and getting the casino and regulatory bodies in the casino industry involved in this. As I said before, this is esports is $1 billion industry, will be $1 billion industry, or is $1 billion industry, much bigger than casinos and the entertainment industry. So it's definitely growing. So let's move on to our next panel. This panel is esports marketing, wagering, etc. Now, we had yesterday an earlier panel about the importance of being, the responsibility of the casinos, making sure that people don't bet above their heads, etc., and that kind of thing. And this is all part of the conversation of how to be, that A word, the authentic, and be having the integrity towards the people, the younger people that are coming into playing esports, and then if casinos start getting into it as far as the wagering is concerned, making sure that they're not betting too much or losing too much money, etc. And they're just doing it for mainly entertainment and fun. So our panel today, we have two panelists here. I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we'll continue on. Go ahead.
Ben Fox. If you haven't met me already, I'm one of the producers of the CDC. Thank you.
I'm on Green, head coach of Esports. I'm back.
Right, he's back. He's here on this last one. Okay.
You just saw me last
we're
time.
missing Rob. That's okay.
Yeah, we're missing Rob Johnson. That's okay. The issue is, I'm going to start here because Ben and I, this is my brother, we started GameCon back here in Atlantic City about almost 9 years ago. And as an event itself, I want to talk about the importance of leveraging that and moving that forward as setting a space for marketing to the younger demographic, to the game developers, to the esport professionals, to esport enthusiasts, to people who want to play video games, etc. And I'm saying that is because I look at that as a starting point for any city to have a festival, which is sort of like saying in a marketing way, I open my doors to you. And I was going to ask for your input on how and what you think on that. Is that a good way for a city to start, or a place to start, to invite the industry into its region, into its geographical area?
I'm just going to make a quick point to that. Yes, because like this event here, everything needs a starting point. And in this event, where it's the business aspect, but everybody comes here so they can network and meet each other and move the conversation even further and actually implement things. So if you look at this as a small example of a larger event, it would work the same way. So it's sort of weird because in this situation, you have to market the event, but at the same time, the event is marketing. So they sort of work in tandem with each other, but that's the point at where all the creation and everything begins. So you need that in order to expand the conversation and get things moving very quickly.
From a digital aspect, Ben, you're talking about the physical aspect, but Aman, you're involved in ESTV. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So ESTV is obviously as the later state esports television, and I invested in the company back in 2019, along with myself and Shane and Brock Green. We probably know very well both East Coast players, and with the Giants and the Patriots, and I believe Brock played with the Bears for a few seasons, both defensive backs. And so we all three, along with the CEO Eric Yoon, had the foresight of basically what was coming about once we got reached out to. And our connector was a guy by the name of Mark Watts, and he was our broadcasting coach. Myself, Shane, and Brock, went into broadcasting, shoutcasting, the things that we did, to basically our next step after football. And so Mark connected with Eric, and then long story short, brought us in. Right away, I was like, I'm in, because esports television, for what I knew then, before I got hired in Lakeland, I knew esports was going somewhere. And so it just made sense to have, because we have ESPN, we got Fox Sports 1, we have CBS Sports. So it just made sense to me to be a part of this company. And what I did in the beginning, when I met everybody and met Eric face to face, and I just said to him that, even though he understood the business side of TV distribution, that's his expertise. And so from that, I was like, great, because I understood what distribution is overall, the business aspect of it. So I basically said, okay, you do that, but let me teach you some of the verbiage, some of the phrases and definitions of what the esports world and business world is, because just like any business industry, you kind of have to have knowledge of it if you want to go into it. And you want to show that you're genuine, the authenticity that you're talking about. Because as an industry, not just the peripheral, the gamers, but they're very judgmental. They will sniff you out real quick and be like, no, this person's just here for a cash grab. So you had to show that you know it, that you love it, that you understand it, and you want to help it grow from the bottom up. So I made him understand that first before we went into the whole reaching out for different companies and working with them.
I'd like to identify the one thing. We spoke privately before, and I asked you about Ven.tv. Ven.tv was an esports broadcasting channel. What do you think it is that, or why they're not around anymore? What do you think happened there?
I honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know that what Eric did for us, he understood distribution. He understood to get partnerships and sponsorships with other companies that were also in our business, but they didn't have the platform to put it on. So Eric's background is the reason why he was able to get a lot of distribution, because he had run, there's a 2K24 TV, which is a Korean network that's similar to our CNN. So he ran 2 of those stations from Los Angeles for years on top of years. So with that background, he knew how to get sponsorship, how to get marketing, how to get content on because he got 24-hour television.
Yeah.
So you literally got 24 hours, you got to slot and plan commercials, content from news to pop culture items, things like that. So him having that mindset, and then just me and Shane coming in with the ideas of this is esports, this is what it is now in America, but this is what it is also worldwide. And this is who you got to cater to. You're not catering, I'm 45 years old. You're not catering to that demographic. I'll say I'm more of an anomaly because I'm into what my kids are into, or my kids that I'm coaching are into, the 25s and younger. I'm into that, but you have to understand how to cater to them to make sure like I said, you give them a good product that they can believe in, that they're going to support, basically.
I just, by a show of hands, I want to open up just a show of hands and ask people, how many people get information from Facebook in here? Like of events, things going on. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. How many people here get it from Instagram? Okay. How many people get their information from TikTok? How many people here get their information from Discord? Okay. So I asked, it's interesting because I asked those questions on how many people get their information from Facebook, and the demographic, of course, skewed to be a little older. How many people get, they're from Instagram? That demographic actually seemed to be more female. And then I asked how many people from TikTok, that was a mix, but a younger audience. And then you have how many people get their information from Discord, and we had 2 people here who are probably video gamers. So there is a vast amount of marketing and areas to market to. And as social media has progressed and moved forward, we're streaming on a YouTube channel right now, but the question is, there's so much out there. Where do you begin? How do you start if you want to do an event, a live event, or you want to get more viewers for ESTV? Where do you move to? What do you do? How do you move in that direction? Where do you stream?
And it depends on what type of event you're planning, obviously, from a marketing standpoint. If it is a video game event, I'm gonna go start with Discord And then I'm gonna then go to Instagram and then TikTok because of the demographic that are on there. So the normal demographic on TikTok is between ages, I say 13 to 30. And that's the gaming age right now. I remember going at PAX West Seattle back in 2016 and 2017. I'm sitting there playing around a Halo with some gamers. And at that time, I was 39 years old. And one of the gamers asked me how old I was, and I said 39. He said, "Oh my God, you're prehistoric." I'm like, "How are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm 29." I'm like, "You're 10 years younger than me." So that's the age bracket. So it's just interesting how that is. So that's where you got to go to put out your social media posts, put out links, put out sign-up sheets. And Discord there's only two of us, right? So Discord is pretty much the gamers' app to talk. I mean, if you are a hardcore gamer, you say Discord, you know exactly what that is. Just like if you work in Wall Street, you know what apps are, that maybe LinkedIn that's the way to go for there. And every business industry has their conversation app that they're in. I would say what I've seen so far. And Discord is definitely for gamers. I mean, talking about marketing in there over the summer, it never went through. I wish it did. It was a company that reached out to me because they seen me stream, they seen me do what I've done at Lakeland coaching. We were going to do a similar, if you watch the Pat McAfee show on YouTube, anybody watch that? The sports betting, former NFL punter for the Colts. So similar to that show, or anything Barstool Sports, you see anything they do. So this company reached out to me. Like I said, I wish it went through, but I haven't heard back from them. So, they just keep it moving. But they wanted me to do a show on Discord, similar to the Pat McAfee show. So that brought to me, that's got my mind running. Like, why I didn't think of that? It's like, okay, because Discord is an app. You can have phone calls. You can have meetings. It's like similar to Teams or being on Zoom. You can have phone calls. You can have meetings virtually, and you can stream your game, or you can stream whatever you're doing. We can stream this right now from Discord, also YouTube.
I didn't ask about Twitter, but Twitter also Twitter is also common, and there's Reddit as well. But there's all these many different platforms.
LinkedIn as well. You can stream on LinkedIn.
My daughter actually goes on Discord, and she's playing games with her friends at night, and they basically fall asleep on it. Like it's running, and they're sleeping and playing at the same time.
And
it's free to download, and you obviously for I say more talking and more messages that you send or more things you want to do on it. Obviously, you could pay for an upgrade and boost it up a little bit. I think it goes from like $50 to $70 to $99 a month for the year.
It's not bad for Discord, but it's what it is.
Yeah. So my point being is, and the reason why I'm bringing up all these apps, social apps or social media apps, is because if you look at go on any casinos page, go on to any iGaming page, I mean, their ability to reach out to that younger audience is limited. They're not going to, maybe Instagram, but they're not going to, places like Discord, because they don't have those games to offer them yet, because they're not there yet. But I think that as we progress, as these executives and people that make those decisions on where they're going to do their social media, that progresses, that's where we're going to be in maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, as they finally catch on, and more games that they can offer younger people will be available in their brick and mortars as well as their online. My next question is, so I've done, and Ben and I have done live events. We did GameCon events where we've gotten thousands of people to come. The question is, we've done, and in the past, we're working with the casinos. We've done things with them, and the most successful event that we did was at Ocean, and they did some traditional marketing. They did mailers, they did billboards, they did radio ads. Do you think that helped at all? I mean, besides, we had social media, but how much do you think that was a contributor to?
Well, because you're my brother, so.
I can answer myself.
Okay. Yeah, right. All right. So in the situation that we spent most of our time, it was always my goal to try to get the property, let's say it's Ocean Casino or something like that, to participate, and not just because I wanted an easier way to get to people. My objective with that was you already have a huge database of people. You already have, marketing you're paying for. You already have billboards that you put out. How's this? How is positioning something for gaming any different than any other entertainment that you're offering? And I always threw in the caveat that most gaming events or things that are to attract gamers last longer than a 2-hour concert that Beyonce has. All right, I mean, in that respect. So the residual that they could have gotten or did get in the case of Ocean was a lot greater than actually what they were getting from a concert which was usually locals for 2 hours. They'd come in, they fill the place up. Maybe they gambled, maybe they wouldn't, and then you have other people visiting overnight. But it always seemed to me that it was just that 2 hours, and that was it. So I always went at them and said, look, use what you currently have now. Use your direct mail, and yes, it's not directed at gamers, but as we've learned, there's a gaming population in everything, even if their current mailing list may go out to a majority of like 70 or 80-year-olds. There's still a huge portion of 21 and up. And I always believed that if they did that it would be more effective. And we did see it as a result. We saw that in the case of Ocean, we had a billboard that they dedicated to the event before we did the event. But it was small little steps. They weren't really in it. But even the little that they did had a big impact with their own marketing that they currently have. Now, of course, when we do an event like that, we put it on steroids because we start bringing in a lot of the social marketing, and that enhances it so that it expands beyond there. But all these events we did bootstrap, so they were very grassroots, and they didn't have the kind of impact that they really needed to do to get to the mass level, which is something we're working on.
So I just want to mention one thing. By a show of hands of people in the room, how many people here either play video games or know someone that does play video games? Okay, see that?
So if you were to get a mailer from your favorite casino, you know somebody who you're going to tell, hey, they're having this event.
Exactly.
So that was my point.
That's the point, is that even if it's somebody's grandma or grandfather, they have a grandson or they have a son or somebody like that that's into gaming.
Okay,
it's one person that knows about it that just tells someone else that knows about gaming, even if they didn't get it on Discord, or so you've been involved though, Aman, in regard to some of these Madden tournaments. I know you worked with Larry on those, and you were at casinos. So what was your process in trying to get? Well, the Madden community is one way,
yeah,
and you focused on that. But I mean, what about spectators, things like that?
For the competitors, we say to them, obviously, you sign up for this tournament through either Discord and or your email, and it's a website that is set up. So having those two or three elements right there, because it's all just click and go. And I would say also, don't have it where it's too many steps. It's like 1-2 steps and you're signed up for Compete Forever Madden tournaments. You don't want to make it beyond 2 steps or 3 steps, because then you lose, like I said, you lose their attention, and it becomes actually too complicated when it's the 3rd or 4th step. I'm like, it's not that hard. But if you want to make sure maximize, keep it real short, make it where you just put in your gamer tag or email, and then everything else shoots back to you. Just like a lot of what I've seen today and through this event is people having a QR code where you can just scan it with your phone, which is all most gamers have. They have cell phones. So making it more easy for them to sign up for the event and then gather information just as easier, that will, I say, be an early flag, green flag for your event to be successful.
Yeah, that's a really great point in marketing to millennials, Gen Z, and even X, because the attention span, I can say for myself, my brother knows this, there's the old expression, the 15-second elevator pitch. If you're able to get your point across, then that was good back in the day. But today we don't have that. I mean, you literally have like 2 or 3 seconds of yes or no. It's like swipe left, swipe. I mean, that's the world we live in. So that message has to engage them the second that they click on that. Otherwise, in the marketing.
That's a success of TikTok. You don't have videos that are very long either. Even those videos are like a minute long, and people will just they'll flip to the next one.
So
And not even watch the first 3 seconds. So we have audiences out there, or younger audiences that have very short attention spans. Agree that you have to have very limited steps for them to sign up, to find out, to get involved. What about leveraging, people and esports programs? And that's what we're going to get to. We spoke about that earlier. I mean, how do you start a program? That's actually the next discussion. But how do you start a program, for example? I mean, you're from Nebraska, okay? You went to school in Nebraska.
Yeah, I'm from there too.
Yeah, okay, so you're from there too. My point being, and the question I want to ask you is, when you have an alumni that's really back and they love their football program, as you were part of their football program, etc. How do you market and establish and create a new esports program? Do they have esports in Nebraska?
They are just getting it started.
Right.
In my opinion, it took a little too long, but they're getting there.
But so you have this sort of like in every industry, just like in the casino industry, you have people at the top that are going, yeah, why do we bother with the esports stuff? That doesn't make any sense.
You better bother.
Right. But I mean, they're so traditional. Their minds are so based on tradition, football, baseball, general sports, and then you bring in this sort of like something that they know their kids play or their grandchildren play. What do you think how do you get beyond saying, well, we have to put some money towards our program here, we have to put some money towards marketing for this?
Right.
How do you get the executives at the top and the board members at the top to say, this is a good idea, let's do this marketing campaign, let's try to create this program?
And I'll say what I've done in that process first is, I'll say for all the pro sports that you mentioned, I mean, it took hundreds of years to really get Major League Baseball, NFL, NHL, basketball all in stride. I mean, we're just now getting to the point where the WNBA is now holding water, which is a great thing. So what I always start that conversation with, and I didn't have to do it with Lakeland because they already had buy-in. I just educated them. They were asking.
Lakeland didn't have any other sports though.
They got traditional sports. They got all traditional sports, but they just was getting esports. And the reason why they were all in. One reason why they were all in is because the student body went to them. So a student body group, extracurricular activity group would basically meet once a month on campus in the tech lab and play games for fun. And then the serious ones that were the organizer that became my team captain, well, actually both of them became team captains for my League of Legends team. And so they, before I was hired, went to school president, David Black, Beth Morgan, and said back in 2017, we want an esports program. So it took Lakeland 3 years before I got the phone call that we have a program, we have a budget, this is what we're going to do, and this is what you got to do once we're hiring, you're hired. And so that 3-year process was the kids asking, and student body wanted it and asking for it, and then the school executing their demands and listening to the students and what exactly they were looking for. And then once I got on, it just so happens I had been in that space at that time for 7-8 years. So I actually knew exactly what the gamers wanted.
Do you have a marketing budget for that?
It's built in. I say the whole budget itself when it started, it was roughly around $250,000. And that included, that was phase 1 and 2, which we just finished phase 2. We started with 18 gaming PCs, now we have 30. So we have another 12. We had another 12 that was installed this past summer. And then phase 3 is actually getting our own building built. Right now we're in an old wrestling storage area, which actually is 3,000 square feet, so it's not small at all. And the way I was able to design it, put the carpet down, space out everything. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, but what, or why? How do you market that? Like, what are you marketing it for? Are you marketing your scholarships? Are you marketing your, the viewership that people would watch that you guys play on Twitch?
So it's marketing to now the students that I'm recruiting, to the elementary schools, the middle schools that are seeing our stream, that are coming to our building. Because on the outside looking in, it looks like an old warehouse. But when you walk through the door, then the carpet is similar to what's in here. Although our walls are black instead of white in here. And then we have a big sign in the back that says Lakeland Esports that got put up and just kind of finished it off. We have a video screen that's a main stage. Then we have another video screen that's all for viewership. Both are for viewership. And we have, seating, couches and chairs around the facility. So for every school, teacher, administrator, parent, recruit, and students from day one came in there, they're basically like, oh wow, this is awesome.
Right. So and then to market to the students in high school that want to come to Lakeland that are involved in esports, you can possibly put up clips of these highlights of your location and that stuff on places like TikTok and
I say TikTok, Discord.
Discord.
So with the Discord, like I said, the beauty of that is once you have a Discord account, free to sign up, then I can send messages to the students, to the teachers, and actually join in my team or my group. So the Lakeland University group chat, they can see all our photos of the facility. So when we get updated stuff, we take pictures of it, we just put it in there, and they can just walk in and out, basically walk virtually in and out and see the facility or see what we're doing. They see our team schedule, when our games are played, when our games are streamed on Twitch and YouTube. So then they kind of have an idea of what everything we're doing. We actually have players in recruiting. I'm recruiting players right now where I could put them in the same chat room as my current players. Right. So they can start talking to the current players now, asking about me, how's Coach Green, or how does practice go, or, how they're just getting to do potential future teammates. So it's something that, when I was a high school athlete getting recruited, that was a part of my recruiting process. I go to University of Nebraska, Notre Dame, Michigan, and visit there. I'm meeting players, I'm meeting coaches, potential teachers.
You can do that all from your comfort of your own house.
Exactly. So during COVID, from COVID to now, we've out-recruited all the traditional sports on campus, because starting with the year of COVID, because I was sitting on Teams or I was sitting in Discord talking to parents, having a conversation of, I'm recruiting your daughter, I'm recruiting your son for Overwatch or for Call of Duty. This is what, and of course parents at that time, they were like, are you sure? Or, didn't you used to play football? What are you doing? And I'm like, no, this is legit. This is no scam. This is real. So once we got past, we're past that now, which is great. So now parents understand. And within the first year, we didn't have scholarships.
Yeah.
But 6 months in, I had to go to admin and say, from the budget, do we have enough to hand out scholarships, or can we plan for that in year 2? And within 6 months, they were able to. So within a year,
that was like the attraction on the marketing side, because you guys were able to offer some kind of scholarships or positioning.
Yeah, it helped out. So we already had the facility, so kids could see in our Discord this place, similar to what's here right now. But then when I said, okay, we do have scholarships now that are, for 4 years, it's $12,000, so you get $3,000 for the year. Right? There you go. And then now it's been picking up ever since.
And then that's the funny part about it, because like there's some people here from the Casino Control Commission and people from Bahamas, and also from the regulatory part of that side. People involved in the casino industry. And it's really interesting that you say that stuff, because if the casino industry starts offering opportunities to play and people to engage and have fun and entertainment in the casino, what would it take? Oh, you're a marketing person, you're a social media person, walking around the casino floor, taking little snips of, well, we're offering this, this is here for you. And then connecting with those communities on places like Discord, on places like TikTok, on places like Reddit and Twitter. So it's funny because it's like they feel that the barrier to entry in connecting to these younger people is very difficult, which brings me to my next comment in regard to, well, if you are going to market to 21 and older Gen Z millennial markets, we had a talk on responsible gaming yesterday, and being in the integrity part of it, where someone finds out or a gambling establishment will promote a tournament or will promote something like a peer-to-peer play or head-to-head play within their property, and trying to get younger people to come and do and participate in that. The question then is, how does that casino, listen, it's a casino, and younger people already feel there's a strike against you because you're a casino. How do you leverage, I can answer this, but I'm going to ask you guys, how do you leverage what is happening and what you're offering in a casino to say, this is a safe place. No, we're not going to take all your money. We're not like, we know that, your grandparents have come here and lost, hundreds of dollars in playing a slot machine in 5 seconds. But we're not doing that. This is here for you, for your entertainment. We will take a big, just being clear. That's what I'm saying is like, how do you connect that and send that message out to younger people so that they really feel like there's something for them to do when they get to a casino, whether that be in Vegas or in Atlantic City?
I think it starts with the messaging from the property itself. There seems to be like sort of a disconnect in the philosophy. With the younger generation, it's kind of like you set the table, they come and eat, okay, and you don't sort of tell them what the bill is going to be before they sit down. They're enjoying the meal. So what I'm trying to get at is the mindset right now is there is money to be made here, okay, from the casino's perspective as entertainment venues and things like that, because that's what they offer and that's their offering. But the focal point always seems to be back on wagering, of course, because up until now, that's how they've been able to cash in or make the most amount of money from the people that happen to visit them. But that does exist in the gaming world, but it's a little bit more. It's not in the traditional sense for them, so it's very difficult for them to gravitate and understand that that's going to come. But the most important thing I think is really kind of what's happening now, and that is in messaging. They have to have enough confidence to believe that there's a big enough market in video gaming that's out there, and there is. Half the world are gamers. So in taking that market and knowing that it exists already, it should be enough confidence to know, okay, now we need to build programs. We need to get these people here. We need to provide for them once or understand them in a way. And really all that takes is just a lot of these people sort of getting outside of what they currently see or what works for them now and trying to focus in on what the customer wants or what these new players want. That emphasis, not trying to get stuck in the traditional historic model, but rather try to incorporate and talk to people like ourselves who understand that, and Aman brought this up before, he said, most of the stuff is built from the ground up, and in the situation with casinos, they've been in business for so long, they feel that they already have the up part, so they don't really feel the need to start at a base level, but you have to. Yeah. In marketing to these generations.
Yeah, Aman, you work with a lot of younger people, obviously, who are competitive. With those guys, how do you broach it to them? What's their attitudes towards playing what they do if they could play for money in a casino?
Well, either way, with the younger generation, I'd say even when I was a kid, just be honest with me. Don't shoot me the BS.
Yeah.
Be straight up. I came in the building, my first year as esports coach, I said, look to my players, the 41 players that I had, football, baseball players, everybody that was in the room. I said, look, I don't play every game. League of Legends, I know nothing about it. I know what type of game style it is, but you gotta have to help me with that. So just be honest from the jump. And you do that, then it's easier to grab their attention. I want to piggyback on what Ben said about messaging. Very important. And if you do messaging in the right way, like I say, be honest, be upfront, don't sugarcoat it, don't try to hide stuff within the messaging. The messaging is the messaging. For example, I think it's the Rio in Vegas. They went beyond that and built the wall has been there. This area in the Rio Hotel, the wall. It's just like this. It actually has a bar, has a soda and drinks, and you can order food, and it's open 24/7 from the casino, from sun up to sundown, because gamers, there are night creatures.
Yeah.
They will gamble. So that is a messaging. They said, you know what, we just built it. And now families, like, I remember getting invited there, and I'm like, I've been to the Rio before, but I never knew this was here. Oh, we just built it. We just did it. And sometimes you have to do that. If it's a leap of faith, or if you're studying the analytics, the numbers are there now. This was I want to say this was like 2014. So the analytics wasn't like, oh my God, jumping off the paper, but the wall and whoever they're part of Caesars, right?
Yeah.
So that Caesars group said, you know what, the number's not there, but you know what, I think this is something we need to try and see what happens. And
it's one thing to put it in, but it's another thing to market it.
Right, through the message. So through the messaging, through a young person saying, oh, they just did it without us even knowing or asking about this. So that's another way to approach it. It's a little aggressive, and it might be a little over under on success. You don't know, but if you do that in a time like this, and it hits, and it most likely with gaming, it's going to hit. If somebody here in AC decides to do that, it's going to hit now, because that's where the mindset is like, oh, thank you. We didn't ask for it, but it's nice to find it.
I want to talk about the messaging part, because we had earlier, and this is why I like to have this panel at the end of the conference, because we hear from a lot of the industry. We had a panelist, Louis Alfieri, who is involved in the amusements industry, but he was talking about the actual communities, the Gen Zs and the millennials, and how they don't trust government, how they feel like they've been let down. So even if there's people here from the DGE, or was here from the DGE, Department of Gaming Enforcement, and or the Casino Control Commission, things like that. Young people, you can put your stamp on something. You can say, okay, this organization, this company, this online platform has been sanctioned and approved by the Department of Gaming Enforcement, and this DraftKings section is taking wagers on, and it's been sanctioned and legalized and everything. That doesn't matter to them. What will matter to them is the question. What does it matter? So let's go back to that.
Well,
the messaging.
Okay, so from personal experience, I want to say that the very first time Ari and I ran a game of Con, we play. I play like Mario, like kart racing. That's my thing. I like it, and because I'm growing up playing with my kids. But I have to say that it took a little bit of time. It wasn't an immediate acceptance into the gaming community for my brother and myself. Even at the beginning, they wanted to know where we were coming from. They wanted to know where our minds were. We were running an event for them, and they wanted to know who we were and what we stood for, and whether or not we were part of their community. And it took just being genuine and actually caring about their experiences, and also relating to them the way that we could, because most of the game developers that had come to our events were themselves entrepreneurs and in business. So there was that connection as well. But they wouldn't have accepted us into their community if they saw us walking in there with a suit, and a briefcase, and said, let's make some money together. This is like, that's not the way it works. And it did take an awful lot of time, I think, for us over time to build things for them, or try to get to the point where we were helping them. But at the same time, it was a very important factor. Every one of us you have to be genuine, and that has to be related in your marketing. Your marketing has to talk to them for them, not for any other purpose.
So what would your advice be to a FanDuel or DraftKings if they started an esports wagering site?
I would say, just like I said already, just be straightforward with the rules. Let the people signing up know what they can and can't do. because they don't want to sign up for something and say thinking they were going to win a whole bunch of money if they put some bets down and find out they're too young. You know, find out, put the rules in there, what the age limit is exactly, what the event is exactly. Put all that in there, and no legalese in there.
Yeah, but what
as
about
possible.
what about like you talked about the community? So they don't if the community doesn't trust government, doesn't trust the company they're making a bet to, then obviously they trust each other. So how do you get the community talking about that?
Well, that's where influencers come in.
That's what I was just thinking. I mean, but you got to make sure you're not.
They're going to know whether they paid the influencer to say that.
That's okay though. They can pay them as long as they're part of it.
I mean, they understand the business. They gonna understand that, you know, if it's myself, Ninja, Nick Merckx, any of those streamers, and trust me, I'm not on their level. I'm just saying, I do what they do. I'm not on their level. They are what I used to do in football. They're the all-stars right now at streaming. So when you bring in somebody like that is noticeable in that space, it does help. Right? But I'm pretty sure, because I've spoken with Ninja, I've talked with him, and when he does things, he just doesn't do it because he's getting paid to do it. He does it because he's already doing it on his own.
Right, and they know that now.
And his viewers know
They
that
know
because
that.
they watch him on his stream when he's on every day. So.
Right, because if there is one thing about these I want to call them like 3 generations, okay, is that they don't mind paying for stuff. Okay, see, that's where people get lost. They will pay for things. They'll buy a $5 Starbucks cup of coffee or $6. I mean, I'm sure most of the parents are probably paying for it. But the point is that they don't mind. But like you said, the messaging and everything, you're upfront, you tell them what it is, and they either make that decision whether they want to be in or out. But they don't need it really sugar-coated, and they don't want hidden things.
Right, and just follow through with it. You know, once the event is over and you got X team wins or this player wins the bet or whatever, follow through with the payout.
Actually, that reminds me.
And make it timely. You know, don't make them wait a week or 2 weeks. You know, let them pay it in a couple of days. And say, okay, we're going to get your payment in 24 hours. Let it be in 24 hours. Yeah. And I think that's not just that age group. I think that's all of us.
As if
you know,
don't, it's a bad.
You sign up for something, you just want something to happen when it says it on the paper in the fine print.
And then that brings me to my next question: is how do you deal with the trolls? And they're lots of them.
Okay, how I deal with the trolls on my stream, or how do I deal with toxicity in the game as a coach?
Toxicity, the trolls. I mean, someone's new to the community, and they're trying to get that respect of the community, but then they have all these people who are going to backlash and badmouth them, you know, and they're trying to be authentic. They're trying to have that integrity. What do you do?
I know if you're on Twitch and YouTube, you log on and you see, you know, my stream or anybody's stream, they have an about area, and that tells whoever you're coming in on that channel and explaining who you are. So I'm explaining who I am as a gamer, as a person, what I used to do, what I'm doing now. This is my computer build, but these are my chat rules. So it's actually a set of chat rules you put in there. No toxicity, no racial, no gender slurs, nothing like that in here. This is a conversation. We're having a fun conversation about whatever topics want to be brought up, but be careful on how you bring it up and how you talk to. It's not talking, obviously, it's texting amongst each other in the chat. The only one that's actually talking is me. I'm answering the question or I'm replying to what's in the chat. So every streamer has that. They have those set of rules that this is my rules if you're going to watch my stream. And if you don't, I can type in I can't remember what they call it exactly, but it's basically a code and ban you. And I can ban you a week, 2 days, 45, or indefinitely. Right? So that's how you set with that. And I say as a coach in my facility, and something that ECAC, NACE, and all the leagues that we play in NECC, in the guidelines they have, you can't use profane language on obviously streaming. And so what I'm doing with my players, I've trained them now in year 3. Now they're to the point where they understand if they drop an F-bomb or anything else, I just say 15. And when I say 15, that means 15 push-ups. And so they drop down, do 15 push-ups, and then they all right, I can't cuss, you know, because they get it. So you got to put in a trigger, you know. So and now, like I said, it's year 3 for me. So now when somebody drops an F-bomb, everybody looks back at me like, did I hear it? Okay? They're almost like parent the kid. They're like, they Coach Green hear it? I'm like, Yeah, I heard it. Give me 15. But if you don't do that, it will be now you're a creature of habit. You could be on game on this stream, 15,000 people are watching because it's the championship, and then you just lost a match and boom, there's the F-bomb. That's on me. That's on your teammates as a coach. That's on the administration.
It's on the industry as a whole.
Exactly. And so I was like, I'm gonna nip that in the bud now. And it's an old trick from the book that my mom and dad I got from my mom and dad. So that was really easy there.
You're better off on it. So.
I wanted to bring up that last point that you actually brought up about tournaments and payouts, because we experienced this. The very first tournament we actually it was the second one. The second tournament we ever did was at what used to be Taj Mahal, and we did a Smash tournament, and it was televised. It was like a
stream,
yeah. But before we ran that event, we basically had to show a guarantee to the players that the prize pool was going to be there, and not only was it going to be there, but there was a payout schedule that would happen immediately afterwards. And the one thing that really struck me about that was, wow, if the casinos are ever operating and running these, the gamers will never have to sort of doubt that aspect. So that's a very big thing in tournaments. I mean, we don't bring it up, but I mean, there are very many tournaments that have been run, even today, that tournament operators will set up a tournament, run it, and they'll come up short. They won't be able to cover all those things that they paid out. So that ruins them. They're done in the gaming community. And one of the very first lessons that we had was that part of integrity about that. We weren't tested. I mean, we were following through. We knew we were going to do it, but they didn't, because it was the first time we had ever done it. Now, if we run something, they don't even think twice, because they know that we already have this reputation to do what we need to do. But it was a very big aspect.
Yeah, and going back to that point, I mean, what I was talking about in prior panels, someone was talking about in prior panels, is when I was younger, when we were younger, I mean, you would buy a product from a company, not think twice about who the person was that was at the very top of the food chain there, and who the CEO was or the people that were involved in it. Today, it's a completely different landscape. I'll take, for example, Blizzard Activision has had they've been in the news. They were in the news last year. Their CEO was involved in a lot of things that were not necessarily ethical. And he was brought before the labor board in California and, things like that. And they've gotten a lot of backlash about that. Obviously people are all human and we're all going to make mistakes. So if someone like, Bobby Kotick, who is the CEO of Blizzard Activision, he is himself and he does what he does and he gets, caught. I'm sure there's going to be scandal like that as the casino industry moves forward in the video gaming or offering video gaming. Now, how do you sort of go to get around that? If you've made a mistake, now how do you go back in reverse?
With this new generation, man, it's tough. It's tough. Does
it mean you have to change the CEO?
Well, depends on that CEO and his or her mannerisms, and their process. With Kotick, because I reviewed this article, I talked about this in length on my podcast, and the part where he kind of, I'll say, lost the younger generation is the part, because at first I think he went down and said he cut his salary in half to have then classes be brought in for leadership training and development. And to hear that from me, it's like you should have that already.
Right.
Because you're a multi-million-dollar company.
Right.
And you have everybody represented in that building of ethnicity and gender. That's something that I expect from day one, from when that company was created, whatever years ago it was. So just to hear it now, I for the gamers today, where it is a big population of women, a big population of gender, representing different sides, it's something that is, like I said, it's kind of too late to hear that now, and it's sad to hear for that and what happened in that case. I said now from that moving forward, I'm glad where they are because they have now initiated. Unfortunately, Kotak is gone, but now they initiated some of the practices, leadership development training, making sure everybody understands, reading the room, who's in the building, how you act, how you use tone, how you address employees. Doesn't matter their background. So make sure you have that understanding of that emotional intelligence of who is in the room. How do I carry myself? How do I talk to or when I talk, how I talk to people, and how you care about people, being that you're in the building working as a team. So that for me, obviously, is important. I'm a father of 4 girls and a boy. So it hit hard with me at home because it's like, wait, this game is a great game, but unfortunately, this was behind the company. And what gamers did, if you were paying attention last year when it happened, a gamer like Nick Merckx, who has it on a daily, right now you can probably log on to Twitch and find him. He probably has anywhere from between 15 to 25,000 concurrent people watching him right now. When all that went down, he stopped playing Call of Duty Warzone. He started playing Apex. That was his way.
That affected the
well, I don't know how much it affected, but that was his way of saying, you know what, I'm not supporting that.
Right.
He didn't have to go out and say it. He just did it by switching the game.
But then here you see Kotak is gone. They're trying to do things in the company to make it better. So in the long run, does it, now that they're sort of like on the mend, they're sort of trying to accommodate that younger audience and what they really want for that integrity, the authenticity, the fairness of play between genders and races and all of that. So something bad created something good. Is that is that seen at all?
It'll be seen once the follow through happens. So you put in the leadership development and cultural learning classes, things like that. That's when you see the cause and effect of that happening. That's when if the gamers see that, then that's when not saying that it's better, but as long as that is happening, then that's what they want to see. They don't want to just see, you put out, say you're going to do this, this, and this, but you didn't do it. Like I said, just follow through.
Right. Well, that's I bring that up is it's relatable to the wagering, and if as the casinos and the online betting markets go down that road, there's a lot of ditches that they could fall into that could create that bad feedback. If those payments aren't being out on time, if someone won a bet on an esport tournament, etc., just wagering on the tournament, if that payment was delayed or that person was underage, they bet on that, all of these things can be blown up, and so these are little landmines that we have to be really cognizant of from the start.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta just be mindful of whatever you put on the flyer. When you start planning out the event and it goes out to everybody, make sure you know that as the casino. Make sure you understand, okay, this is what we're supposed to do when the gamers start showing up. And then even when everything's done, we have a champion, we have a loser. This is what goes out in a timely fashion. If we say it's going to be 24 to 48 hours, make sure it's there, 24 to 48 hours. And then for any other thing, like referring back to Activision, just we have these programs in the building now. Now we're working to that. And if you show that, at least that is something good for the community to keep slowly start to support it again.
It's almost as if the gaming communities themselves are creating a utopian world where they're trying to really establish the integrity of fairness, which would be really well reflected on the macro world in regards to governments themselves.
Basically, on a small level.
Yes.
In a way. Because, I mentioned to Dan right after our panel earlier that ECAC, NECC, and NACE Star League, they have in the guidelines that basically all esports teams have to be got to be co-ed. It's a rule.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm a father of 4 girls and a boy. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
And my roster now, I have 3 young ladies, and I have a transgender now defining as a young woman.
Yeah.
He came to campus as a man,
Yeah.
but now is defining as a young woman. So
Very good.
I support it,
Yep.
and I make sure they're in a comfortable space,
Yep.
they're in a safe space,
Yep.
because we're going to have conversations, because not everybody's going to react the same to certain comments.
Right.
So I make sure my players are aware of that, who's in the building.
Yeah.
You know, even I've had team building days where it's kind of, all right, we're gonna let loose, have fun, and they're doing that. They're letting loose, have fun. But I even say, even as a parent,
Yeah.
I'm like, you just said something. Are you okay with that?
Right.
And as long as that person says, okay, I'm okay with that joke for now, coach, you're good. Okay, because I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You just said something. Even though we're having fun today, I still got to check. Like,
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with that comment that was just said around here
Yeah.
before we continue on having fun?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, then all right, then we're good.
Yeah.
All right. So just gotta be aware, but always conscious.
I want us to just close it out, and I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts. Ben, you want to give a final thought on marketing, wagering moving forward, and dealing with the communities as a whole?
I would just have to say that, you know, on the casino level, there needs to be a lot of training in every aspect. I mean, like Amanda mentioned, if a gamer shows up at your property, you have to sort of have some kind of understanding of who that customer is. And we're not there yet, because we're finally getting the attention of some, you know, most of the C-level is trying to figure out how to position themselves with esports and video gaming. But what we are getting also in that is going to be the overall philosophy that really sort of everybody understands a little bit of this. They're not weirdos, they're just different. You know what I mean? And you have to understand them, so then you can cater to them. And that's really where the core is. It's understanding the customer.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Just you gotta understand, know who they are, know what they like, and what they don't like, and go from there. And then execute and follow through with exactly what you're going to do. Don't, like I said, don't say one thing and do something different. That's
And real quick, just on the regulator side, to set everybody's mind at ease, even though this is somewhat uncharted water for them as far as like what to regulate, as far as what games, how that's going to work, they should rest assured that this is a couple of generations that moderate themselves, so that by the time you are sitting there and making rules and seeing what works and what doesn't work, they've already done that, and they continue to do it for the rest of, you know, their group participate in this.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
They're like more critical than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, you have the ones that are straight shooters. They have that integrity. They're very authentic. The only thing is, in every community, you're always going to have that one person or a bunch of people that are going to be the bad
Human
actors.
nature.
So, but overall, it's a different type of world. And before we close out, we're going to have lunch soon. Are there any questions anyone has that we covered and about anything? We'll just take a few seconds. Anybody? No? All right, so we're going to break for lunch. It's now 12:10. We're going to resume here at about 1 o'clock. That'll be our last panel of the day. And that's it. Then we'll have closing remarks by the executive director for the Esports Innovation Center, Andrew Walgus. And I'd like to, for my personal, this is the last time I'll be up here. I thank you for coming. Thank you for staying for the second day. It's very, very appreciated. And then hopefully we'll see you all next year here back in Atlantic City and in Vegas as well. Thanks.
He's not here.